Hello everybody, welcome to the Man and the Goat YouTube channel. This is the first video in a build series where I'm going to construct a workshop slash shed. I'm going to use it as a workshop, but I'll probably call it both throughout the video. You'll know what I mean. This is the very first episode and we're just covering the foundation and the very beginnings, the floor, and then there will be more videos to come on the rest of the building. But the biggest thing right off the bat is I'm not an expert on this. I have experience in DIY. I've done a lot of different projects and have background in construction. Most of it came from working with my dad, who you can see here. He is squaring the ends of these 2x8s that we're going to be using for floor joists. But he has a ton of experience. I would almost consider him a goat in this field. He has almost 40 years of construction background. So tons of experience, and he's a wealth of information and knowledge, and I try to listen as much as I can, but you know how that goes. So right now he's just going to cut off the end. He already squared it off with the framing square. We didn't have the speed square out at the moment. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be coming in periodically to discuss some of the things I think you may want to know.
Hey, wait, man, I hate it too. Probably I work for know something about it. You know what I mean?
I should probably let you know the size of the workshop shed is 16 foot long, 10 foot wide. And right now we're just doing some general planning, just getting an idea, rough layout of where we want it to be, seeing how far off a level we are, making sure that we're going to be close and see what we need to do. And right here, we're checking to see where the crown is. We want the crown to be facing up, so it'll flatten out over time. We decided to build this workshop shed on a skid foundation, cinder blocks. They're a little more forgiving, budget friendly, and a little bit easier to do rather than pour a concrete slab. That would be probably more ideal, but this works too, and pretty much anybody can do it. We went with 4x4 posts for the skids, pressure treated, and then 2x8s for the floor joists, pressure treated as well. We went 2x8s instead of 2x6s. You could use 2x6s, but we went 2x8s in our circumstance here because we were just going to do 24 on center instead of the 16 on center. You could use 2x6s, like I said, but we decided to go 2x8s. Just make sure you use pressure treated because it's going to be close to the ground, get wet, and all that stuff. By this point, we're moving along pretty good, and now we're ready to square everything up. And you just measure diagonally, make an X, and check your measurements, and they should be equal. Typical father doesn't think the son's doing it right, so he's got to walk up and make sure, but I had it on the right spot, and we got it squared up eventually. We had to do a few adjustments, but it wasn't too bad. I think here in a minute you'll see him kind of kick it. There we go. Whipped on the first one, but there, got the connection, and now we got it all squared up, or at least close, and we're ready to move on.
To lay out for joist 2 foot on center, mark 23 1/4, because your boards are 1.5 inches thick, and the center will become 24 when you put your mark on 23 1/4, and so forth. At 47 1/4, 71 1/4, 95 1/4.
Does it matter where you place your line? Why are you marking the lines like that?
Because I know this is, when I put the X there, that means the board goes on this side of the mark.
Okay.
So if you have helpers and all, they understand that the board goes on the side that the X is on.
Now we're getting the floor joist put in. We didn't need joist hangers because the floor joist could just rest on the skids on the 4x4 posts. We did go with screws instead of nails. Screws don't pull out as easy, a little more strength. Nails have good shear strength, they do. They bend, they don't just snap, but these screws, they don't snap either. They're not like drywall screws, they're not that brittle. Another thing I would also recommend is to cut in place when you can. You'll see that on the outside edge. That's the route we took. We laid it out and then cut it in place. And then later on you'll also see that we mark the joists out with the chalk line so that we could go through and screw them down fairly quickly. I appreciate you watching. And the man and the goat, we actually have a lot more to offer than just videos. We actually have a website, tmntg.com. That's TM with the letter N, tg.com. And there, basically, we teach life skills and give a little advice and different things like that. So check that out. We also have a podcast, and it can be found wherever you play your favorite podcasts at. I'll leave a link in the description to both of those. Also, subscribe so you can get notified when the next videos come out for this shed build.